Let's continue here on the program. We're joined by a gentleman, as a matter of fact, in his third season as the head football coach at SMU. The Mustangs ranked number 20 in the nation, 7-1, 3-0 in ACC play. And up next, Pitt. As a matter of fact, a big time ACC football game. Rhett Lashlee joins us here on the program. Coach Lashlee, we appreciate the time. Welcome to the program.
Hey, excited to be on. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Your thoughts? Big win over Duke to remain undefeated in ACC play, one of those games where a couple of old coaches kind of getting together and an exciting finish, one in which you come out victorious.
Yeah, I mean, you know how it is in sports. It's always good to win, no matter how it looks and what happens. It was a really good football game. Duke's a really good football team. It was two 6-1 teams, and Manny is a good friend of mine, and have a lot of respect for him and the job they do. And for us to come out with a 1-point win and in overtime, we'll take it. And we've been playing pretty good football, and to be in a really tight game and find a way to pull it out is good for our guys, and because that's the kind of stuff you have to do throughout the course of a season to set up the next game, which is the one we have this weekend.
No doubt about it against Pitt, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. You mentioned it a little bit, alluded to it, but your thoughts on the season to this point, you're first in the ACC.
Yeah, I mean, I saw a stat the other day. It was kind of cool. In our first year in the ACC, this is the first time since 1967 that there's been four teams unbeaten in conference play going into November. So, and two of us play this weekend. So, our guys have played awesome. Been really proud of them. We felt like we had a team that could compete, but we didn't really know what that would look like. And they just showed up every week and competed well and found ways to win and got some momentum going. And just came off of 3 straight road games, and we found a way to win those games. And so I think our players, we got an older group, a lot of maturity, a lot of veteran leadership off a team that won 11 games last year. So they kind of know what it takes and what it looks like. So they deserve all the credit. And, now here we are in week 11 playing our 9th game at home against undefeated Pitt in a big game, and we got to find a way to get up again.
I think you mentioned the 3 straight road games, but that was preceded by 4 straight home games. Like, I don't know if I've ever really seen that. You don't see that a lot in college football. If you get 2 sometimes, you're lucky to get 3, 4 straight. And but to your point, in those 3 straight road games, you traveled 3,709 miles in those 3 weeks. Man, just speak to that. And I don't know, was it difficult being on the road, but now you're coming back home to play also a nationally ranked Pitt football team?
It breaks your season up in a weird way. To your point, we were at home the whole month of September. We were gone the whole month of October, and now we're going to be home 3 out of 4 games in November. So, we hadn't played here since September 28th. Our next home game is going to be November 2nd, so that's just unusual on the schedule. But, our guys do a good job on the road. We don't make a big deal about road and away. We go play the next game, and we game plan for the opponent, and we worry about the things that we feel like we need to do to compete well. It allows our guys to focus on the standard that we need to chase for ourselves and not worry about as much our opponent or the factors that we can't control. And they do a good job of that. And so they travel and play well on the road. It is different. We got a great home crowd here, and so it's going to be good to be back in front of them and with a big game like Pitt. But our guys don't make too much of it, and I think that's probably one of the keys to their success.
And to the point, right? Like, maybe a lot could have been made. I don't know, but if outside looking in, if I say, okay, SMU's coming to the ACC, that seems like a lot of travel. But to the point, you look at last year's schedule, you had equal amount of travel because of where you're located. You had to come way to Greenville, which is not far from us, North Carolina. You had as much travel last year as you did this year.
Yeah, the travel's not going to be a huge deal for us overall, just because we were in the American Conference, which is a lot of schools on the East Coast, no different than the ACC. And we're being in Dallas. We're going to either go to Stanford or Cal once a year. That's fine. What made it challenging is, to your point, we've been on the road for a month straight, and we went to Stanford and played the night game. So we fly the red eye back, get in at 5:30 on Sunday morning to go all the way to Duke the very next week to play a night game. get on the red eye back at 5:30, basically. Usually if you go all the way west, you get a home game or something like that next. We went as far west and far east back to back, and our kids handled it great. So, like you said, there's parts of the schedule that maybe are more challenging. And then to your point, now we're at home 3 of our last 4, and we'll take that now.
And just so people understand, you talk about, just for our listeners, you talk about the travel. I mean, even though, maybe Texas is on that side, more the West Coast side, man, to get to Stanford is 1,708 yards still. So just so our audience understands that, Rhett Lashlee is the head football coach at SMU. He joins us here on the program. I got to take you back to last year because you're talking about a season where you win the AAC championship. It was the first time, I believe, 39 or 40 years since SMU had won a championship with all of the stuff from the 80s and all of that. This program obviously is back. Speak to what that championship meant, but then also bringing that momentum into this season and a new conference.
Yeah, I mean, it was I think our program at SMU, obviously we have a long history, but it ended in the mid 80s. And so there had been a little drought here. And probably the last 5 or 6 years, we've been winning again and been playing good football. We've won more games in the last 5 years, really the last 6 years now, than any school in the state of Texas. But we didn't have a championship to show for it, going into last year. And so to break through and win a championship was big. I think it was the next step for the program to try to get all the way back to where our program had been before when Eric Dickerson and those had played here. And then to do it in a way that it was the season as we were going into the ACC, I think helped springboard us into this new conference with a lot of confidence and momentum. Had a good number of guys returning from that team that knew how to win. The ones we lost, we were able to attract people to come and replace them. One, because we had just won, and also because we were going to the ACC. And so just the timing of it has really helped because, when you get an opportunity to go to the ACC like we've done, I think we always believed we'd be a good partner and add value to the league and that the league would definitely add value to us, but you want to go prove that. And, so far our guys, if nothing else, have proved we belong in the league and can be a good member of the league that helps raise the level and the exposure of the ACC. And obviously it helps us to be in the league.
I don't think there's any doubt about that SMU has helped to raise. I mean, you're a top, number 20, certainly right now. And of course, you have familiarity with the ACC, having been an assistant coach at Miami. Speaking, sort of transitioning to Miami. So, Rashard Smith, okay, so as you know, of course, a lot of people may not know, played at Miami. He was a wide receiver. You coached him there. He is now with you as a running back. At SMU has done a really good job. Third in the ACC, 745 yards rushing, tied for second in terms of rushing touchdowns with 9. Speak to how he's played in the conversion he's made from the wide receiver position, basically full-time, to now more or less a full-time running back.
Been pretty special. It's been pretty fun to watch. I think our running backs coach, Kyle Cooper, and assistant running backs coach, Tyler Foster, they deserve a ton of credit. And Rashard, to your point, got to recruit him, coach him as a freshman at Miami when we were there with Manny. Left. He stayed the last 2 years and continued to play slot receiver predominantly. Was a really good kickoff return guy. And he decided to go into the portal and try to look to play somewhere his last year. Well, we had some guys on our roster last year on our conference championship team that had been teammates with him at Miami. And they said, man, Rashard really wants to come and play his last year here. But at the time, we really didn't have a receiver need. We had a lot of receivers returning, particularly in the slot. And so we were just like, man, we don't really have a need. But some of us, Coach Cooper had been at Miami with me. We knew the talent that Rashard had, and we knew who he was, and we knew that he could be a big-time playmaker. And so after a week or two, Coach Cooper and I were just sitting around. The Chiefs were making their playoff run last year, and we were watching them a lot because Rashee Rice was on their roster from playing from us. And we just noticed Isaiah Pacheco and the way he ran. And he runs downhill. He runs between the tackles. He can run outside the tackles. He obviously is a really threat in the passing game for what they do. And we kind of were like, well, hold on, how big is he? And we looked, and Rashard's only like 10 pounds lighter than him. So we're like, well, man, maybe he'll come here and give it a shot at running back. And we asked him. He said, sure, I just want to come. And he did. And he came and he worked at running back all spring. And at the end of spring, our defensive coaches were telling us, yeah, that guy's a little different. And, and so credit him to pick it up. He hadn't even in high school, he wasn't playing running back. He played running back in the parks when he was growing up, but not in high school, not in college. And to pick it up in 1 year, and if he can stay healthy, be on track probably for a 1,000-yard season. And, he carried the ball 26 times the other night. And that was a career high, but he's such a weapon because he's not just a running back. Those receiver skills come in handy coming out of the backfield.
Your quarterback, can you speak to him, Kevin Jennings, and how he's played for you so far this season?
Yeah, Kevin's been great. Kevin, I think he's now started 7 games in his career. He started the last 2 games last year when our starter got hurt. He won the conference championship for us and started our bowl game. And then he started ever since our 4th game this year. And, we've won 5 in a row. And he's just come in and he's gotten better and better each week. Last week, he really struggled. We had some turnover issues. But until last week, he had been just a calming presence on our offense. He's really helped our offense develop an identity and take it to the next level in terms of making a defense to defend the whole field and getting the ball to our playmakers. And, he can really extend the play, but he can really throw it, so he's a 2-dimensional player there. And he's a winner. He won a state championship in high school at South Oak Cliff, Dallas Independent School District School, the first one DISD school to win a state championship since the 60s, or in over 60 years. And so, he's used to winning. He's calm in the moment. Our guys believe in him, and he's been really good for us, and we're just excited that he's going to get better and better.
Rhett Lashlee is the head football coach at SMU, joins us here on the program. Last thought, Coach Lashlee, we appreciate the time. Your thoughts on Pitt? This promises to be a really exciting football game. I mean, you've got 2 teams that are scoring a bunch of points.
Yeah, you'd think so. I mean, you got 2 teams in the top 20, undefeated in the conference. We're all competing to try to get to Charlotte and compete for our conference, still with a lot of ball left. I think there's a lot of similarities in our team. Pat did a really good job of bringing in Cade Bell, and they run a wide open offense, and they push the ball down the field and play with tempo. They got a really good running back as well, similar to Brashard. And so, offensively, we like doing a lot of the same things. And then I think the thing that people are starting to talk about maybe more, but should, is both of our defenses. Both defenses are really good. We're number 1 against the rush in the league. They're number 2 against the rush in the league. I think we're both in top 3 or 4 in most statistical categories defensively. Pitt has a real defense. They stop the run. They can get after the quarterback. They create a lot of turnovers. They scored 3 touchdowns on defense their last game. And I think our defense has the ability to be disruptive as well. So, it should be strength on strength of both offense and defense, and, hopefully provide for a really good game on Saturday night.
Rhett Lashlee, again, in his 3rd season as the head football coach at SMU. The Mustangs ranked number 20 in the nation. Big-time home football game there in Dallas. ACC style against Pitt on Saturdays. He joins us here on the program. Coach Lashlee, we appreciate the time. Continued success to you and the Mustangs.
Hey, thanks so much for having me on. Appreciate all you do to highlight players in our great game.